ladies and gentlemen, I'm so super excited to introduce you to Evan Bear. He is the founder of the Bunkie Co. and an amazing company. And the best thing about it is it's made in Canada. So, Evan, thanks for taking the time. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and the company and how it all began?
Yeah, well, thanks for reaching out, David. I appreciate it. And yeah, we're in the same space, and we're always checking out what we have to do. And we're all Bunky in name. We're the Bunky company. So I am an industrial designer by trade and by education. Started up in the furniture industry, and then sort of built a skill in high volume manufacturing, working with the big Canadian companies in Southern Ontario, and that sort of grew my understanding and knowledge base of how to make things, right? And it's having like a design background, just like growing up being creative. And then the Bunkie company was an idea that was formed from like an architectural designer friend that I had met through the whole interior design, prototype jam sessions we used to do in the 2010s. And then I had my furniture design background, and I'm like, well, what kind of a project could we do that would fuse architecture and furniture design? So, at that time, prior to 2013, there was the Bunkie idea where you didn't need a permit. We're like, hey, this is kind of a cool idea to kind of build our company around. It was an idea, and that's what we started with, the no permit zone, but we added it as a four-season space, and then I brought the whole multifunctional furniture aspect to it. So that's where we are today. We're building that product across Canada and the US.
And I don't want to pump you up too much here, but it's if I could articulate like what the Bunkie Co's kind of aesthetic is, it's just beautiful. A lot of really nice glass and metal coming together in a really aesthetic. Like I think aesthetically, you guys are number one in my view. Just the you can tell that someone
Oh,
that
thanks.
really cares about it has designed them, and put a lot of thought into not just the structure, but also the aesthetics and how it flows together. And they're really beautiful.
Oh, thanks. Well, Nathan Bueller and George Torres were the first guys that I connected with. So Nathan runs a company called Building Workshop, and he still does amazing work. Like he's doing large custom builds in the GTA, in Muskoka, in North Cottage area, and that aesthetic really came from them. And then also working with them through it, I kind of refined it and now continue to build more models from that. So yeah, we start from a place of design thinking. So that's why the proportions and the materials that we don't really skimp on, like the gauge of the metal and the fact that we use real curtain wall. If anybody cares to see our site, we have these big glass wall, but no permit cabin. So it's very unorthodox. It definitely was back in 2013 or earlier than that, actually, to have those two things combined. And it was really hard to find suppliers to even supply it because this is stuff that you see if you go to a big box store. It's that giant glass wall that goes from floor to like 20 feet up when you walk in, like a Best Buy or a big box store. And we use that same stuff. So it's all the materials, and it's our commitment to design integrity. And people seek us out. People who really appreciate that love what we do, and
And you,
appreciate that you saying that.
and you were saying that earlier that all your stuff is sourced here in Canada too, which is has its own set of unique challenges, and it's also manufactured. It's in Brighton. You guys make your stuff, right?
Yeah, we just moved here a couple of years ago. I moved out of the GTA, but yeah, I've started in the GTA area. But all the materials, and it came from that like early 2000s thinking when I started my career. Like if people search, there's a bit of like old SEO of me doing design shows and caring about environmental materials, like when the eco shows used to we start first started popping up, and kind of falling on people's radar. So I've just carried that mentality through to this. Like it's just the only thing that makes sense. Because if you're a guy making stuff, like why are we making it? There's a lot of stuff that's being made for no reason. And part of this effort with sustainability and local manufacturing so important. Like that's your middle base. That's the people who build and work and design and create that sort of driving economic engine. So like why wouldn't you want to try to have as much as that as possible to be profitable and to have a thriving economy and country? So I always thought if you could, make something as beautiful as you could, it's likely going to be on the higher cost side because you're doing something unique. It's not a high volume thing, but when in that sense, you can use local materials. And, that's sort of the unfortunate consequence of, Canadian materials and processes, it's just a bit more as opposed to, sourcing from Asia. Like we can ship our trees to Asia and have them come back and plywood cheaper than we can make it here. So, I didn't want to go down that route. So yeah, we source everything from Canadian and US suppliers. Like we love our US suppliers, but the fabrication is all done in the GTA. And now in Brighton, we have our CNC machine where we actually cut our proprietary system to whatever is ordered as we get them.
That's awesome. And so, as a fellow Canadian manufacturer, I just want to say mad respect for what you guys are doing. And
Oh, you too, man.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's. I wonder if you could paint a picture for the audience, if you've never experienced what we've experienced. Like, could you paint the heaven of that and the hell, if you will? Like, what is the upside of doing it here, and what are you proud of for doing here? And then what is this part where you go, "Ugh," like, what keeps you, graze your beard at night, if that makes
Oh
sense.
yeah, you can see that there.
Yeah,
There's a few tree rings of gray beard there. Um, what I love about it is working with people locally and hiring and using local suppliers, developing those relationships. And you can think of it in terms of materials that you're buying from a local company, and there's a rah, local thought process there. But you actually build relationships with these people. So a big part of manufacturing is that. So I love that we've been working with the same metal guy since we started the company, and he's so important to our process. Same thing with the glass company. So I just love being able to say that we can produce something domestically, which used to be the case. Like before this mega globalism thing, which I have no issue with, but components and things started to change. It used to be about, you know, building and doing things within your region. That was a community of sorts. So there's that part that I really like about it. I love the interior design show. I love seeing some of those people every so often. And that's part of where we are because we're design focused and we're manufacturing focused. So those are two important things. And then things that are hard is just that there's some economic things like right now that are changing the landscape quite a bit in terms of who gets what from where and how can that get changed. And it's when you're controlling every aspect of the business from marketing to manufacturing to sales to support, it's a lot of work. That's hard. It's hard to make things. And I'm okay with it because I think it's the right thing to do for me. And I know there's lots of manufacturers like but that it's a difficult thing to do is to make something domestically and do something that's completely relatively unique like what we're doing aesthetically and in terms of the unique way that I fuse the furniture into that, like just coming up with all that new stuff, that's a hard thing to do. So I love working with people in the community part of local, but it's just as a demand on the human body and mind.
yeah.
It's a lot of work to manufacture stuff.
And do you get the type of thing where people go, "Oh, well, I can do that for $1,000" type like snarky troll comments,
Yeah.
and like what I would like them to, I would like to say to them on your behalf is like, dude, this is a beautiful made in Canada product, and every dollar you spend with the Bunkie Co is going right back into Brighton, it's going right back into Ontario, so we're ultimately going right back into Canada, as opposed to like just importing this cheap thing, right?
Yeah.
It's completely two different products. It's not even, and what I love about your product is it is so unique in and of itself. But the reality is like, um, you know, I don't mind competing with imported kits, right? I don't mind that at
Mhm.
all. I don't mind competing with American made kits. I don't mind me competing, I don't really look at you guys as competitors because it's such a different aesthetic and a different kind
Yeah,
of price point and everything.
totally.
But we're serving that kind of space. I don't mind compete, like that's fine. What really ticks me off though is the people that kind of slap a Canadian air to it and are kind of dishonest or about trying to make it infer that's made in Canada.
Yeah.
Right? Do you guys struggle with that in your little niche at all, or like that's something I've really been frustrated with in my little niche?
Yeah. Well, definitely the comments, right? I mean, because of our price point, people try to put a square foot cost on something
Right?
like this, and it's like it's a
Yeah.
killer.
Yeah.
But I've become okay with it, and I'm working with an amazing marketing woman right now, and she's got me looking at this from a completely different perspective. So maybe this will you'll see it, but it's like I'm embracing these comments and just answering them like, wow, if you can build that thing for a quarter of the price, you're hired. Let's come work at the Bunkie Co. because I will do it. Like
I
let's
know.
let's see it. And it's a lot of trolling but it's also a lot of frustration. Like people are pissed or upset that they can't afford things. Like maybe this same stuff, like our prices have increased by nature of materials and costs over the last 10 years for sure. And I think it's got a lot of people upset. So, they lash out in different ways. So I try to hear that, but I think education is a big part though, David, is really helping people to see it. And that's what we're doing with our YouTube channel. And I see you doing a lot. Again, huge respect. Like the amount of marketing output that you guys do and your showroom and all your spaces. And it's like it's a really inviting and a real way for people to understand this is your company. And social media is an amazing like I see how it's benefited you and us too. Like we built a virtual company and turned it into a physical company. So yeah, I think it's about education. Yeah, we get that stuff. I'm trying to embrace it
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's a good attitude to have. I mean, and at the end of the day, I think there's an underlying hurt that you kind of alluded to. Like, people have really been, you know, like the cost of materials, at least in our case, has gone up like just an insane amount of money, and we've had to uh, adjust the prices accordingly, right?
yeah,
And people are like, kind of ticked off, whether it's the hamburger that's gone up or the wood that's gone up or the bunkie that's gone up. But it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
dude, like we didn't print the money. That's not us. That's, you know?
No,
Yeah.
no, I agree. I agree with that general sort of mindset, what you're alluding to a bit there. I think it's a bit out of control. And that's why manufacturing, like if you fail at manufacturing, your company ceases to exist. Like being able to do things
Yeah.
indefinitely without consequence is a really wild thing. So yeah, that's a big part of the whole don't sleep thing, right? Is
Yeah,
because
totally.
yeah, if we're not selling, if we're not, I'm working on a new model to try to find a better price point. Not because I want to undercut the other models, just because I'd love for people to experience what we can. And part of the growth model for us, this is a quick aside, is like it's expandable. Like the CNC is the way to increase output. So there's some interesting things that we can do to combat this. I think ultimately you and I, and I'll speak for myself, but I would love to hear your thought on it, is like you're growing this manufacturing base and as that grows and as the interest grows, you can build that manufacturing up. And then in manufacturing, technically, you can improve price points on larger bulk purchases of material and larger throughput, hiring more people, greater efficiency, better equipment, like working with the WMCO. I'm not sure
Yeah, we've been
you
a
guys,
member of them for so that's the Wood
they're
Manufacturing Council of
awesome.
Ontario. They're fantastic. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing that's there that exists. And you know what? That's where I will give, the government some credit there because they are putting money into that and they are trying to help the Canadian manufacturers connect with one another. And
Yeah.
that's why I think you and I are talking right now too, is because it's now like, hey, we got to support one another. If we work within province or if we work within, let's share a bit of data. I know we're always going to be a little bit protective of whether it's brand or whether it's product, but yeah, now's a really interesting time to dig into that because there was a lot of protectionism. I remember I say growing up, my professional career in the early 2000s into the 2010s is like everybody's like, don't
Yeah.
look at my stuff and very protective. And you didn't
Right.
get into the inner showroom of a furniture company at a big trade show. The people would sneak in. But now I think it's a time to kind of open that up a little bit and collaborate more. And the tools that are available, incredible, like us being able to chat like this and 3D CAD and being able to send data around. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting
Yeah, no, I 100% agree.
off
I
topic
think
there.
collaboration is that's we've joined that was like our first move was join the WMCO before we even got the factories like producing and stuff, and it's been a great tool, and I agree 100%. I think that the more collaboration you can do, the better, and I think especially if we're talking about within Ontario, within Canada,
Mhm.
there's more than enough to go around for everybody, and together we actually grow the pie bigger, if that makes sense, right? And
Mhm.
so that's always been our philosophy, and like I said, I mean, I get along actually quite well with everybody in the call it the bunkie space or whatever, really really really
Mhm.
well, with the exception of the aforementioned people that want to just like pretend they're made in Canada and kind of
Mhm.
bleed off of that, the investment that you've made. Like I don't want to speculate dollars, but I'm sure it's like your life savings is tied up in your CNC and your factory and all those things, right? Like it is with us, right? And it's a little bit unfair for someone to come into the marketplace and kind of steal that valor of the real investment, entrepreneurial energy, and quite frankly, determination that you've put into your business, and come in and be like, just slap a Canadian flag on the logo. but and sell
Yeah.
the same Chinese stuff. Like there was this pretty, I don't know if you heard about the thing in Hamilton more recently,
Oh
where
yeah.
yeah, there's like a tiny home thing, and so this Hamilton Council, bought all these things. And it turns out like some fly by night company just like launched a corporation, bought a bunch of crap from China, gave it to the city of Hamilton, made like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then just disappeared, right? And took no accountability for it. And it's just like, it's such a knife in the back of what we're trying to build.
I know. And so many people won't really care because it gets down to dollars, right? But what you're talking about too, in some cases, I'm trying to see the both sides, but it's the micro niche, right? That's where you and I have our markets, right? Because some people either can't afford it, some people don't care about being in Canada. Maybe they live here, but they're not from here originally. So there's lots of different types of Canadian connections, I'd say. And good or bad, it doesn't really matter. It's just how identify with these brands. So we find those people and those people find us and we broadcast our signal and we talk honestly. And the transparency is one of the most amazing new ways to use this tool because you can't fake that. If you're posting, every week or every day and you're talking about sales or you're talking about machines that you have or we're talking like this, it's like um I think people will start to think a bit more patriotically. If that's still a legit word in my sense, it's not necessarily at a broader sense, like talking about supporting your local manufacturing companies. And if it costs a bit more, it's a decision to make. But yeah, it's too bad. So you did ask me that before. We have had we actually had a Canadian company that early on, I won't really mention the names, I don't want to go there, but
Yeah,
like, because we did this sort of big glass cabin thing super early, right?
yeah,
2013 was the year of the tiny house that really picked up. So as a really interesting little tidbit on us, because we were in that showing these visuals, it was unique and that is a big part of what carries us today. It was just being there at the right place, at the right time and having something unique and then just growing it, working on it. So we talk about, for me, it's more like a life's worth of energy put into that. So we've always, been pretty conservative about costs and how we do things, and it's a good model, but yeah, it's a challenge one way or
yeah.
another.
Yeah, and like I'm here for the challenge, right? Like this
Yeah.
is what I really feel like I've been put on earth to do and to promote and to it's where I want to invest my time and my efforts, right? But I often think, oh man, like if we just like we meaning like the industry was a little more transparent and a little more cooperative, I think it would be better for everyone if that makes sense, right? And like I said earlier, like it's totally fine. I think we head to toe Bunky Life can go against the Chinese and the random imports and stuff. I think we can do that uh, on an even playing field where like um, you know people know what they're getting and they're making an educated decision. That's totally fine. It's just
Mhm.
that like what I found in Canada is like, well, a good example is maybe this might tie into the confusion thing. So you guys started Bunkie Co. a little bit before us. We started Bunkie Life later, and generally speaking, I didn't find there's too much confusion between our brand and your brand. Every once in a while, someone will be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, cool glass structures." I'm like, "No, that's Evan's company, right?" And
Oh
that's
yeah, well we do get the same for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's pretty rare, like relatively speaking, for us at least. Like maybe one email every 6 months or something. We'll get there where someone's confused.
Okay.
Um, but then we applied for our trademark, right? And
Mhm.
like for our name, Bunky Life. And then
Mhm.
the US one went through like in 2 months, right? But the Canadian one took years. And then it got to the point where they were trying to say that you couldn't have your name and we couldn't have our name. And we're like, oh, but we get along, right?
We're
And
okay.
we're,
Yeah.
we're fine with them using the Bunky code and they're fine with it. And but Canada would like it was almost like they were like, I don't know, like I didn't feel like the Canadians were really trying to like support us at all. You know what I mean? It was always they
Yeah.
were trying to get us to fight, which I didn't love.
Yeah, I mean that probably be another podcast for
Yeah,
another day,
yeah,
talking about, the back end and the time required to get, things that seem relatively straightforward to work through. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're the same people working there that are the same people that are working in our context, the factories that are building things, right? They're two different mindsets,
yeah,
rules and things that I don't fully understand. That's why we had our trademark agent in that, and that was great. She's one of the ladies in our video. She's cool.
yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. I think what we're doing now though is important, right? Um we've got some connections. through like places like the WMCO. We do have materials. We are producing things. It's definitely less pool, but it's going to be in our innovation, and it's going to be in the way that we can, I guess, yeah, collaborate to some extent with different companies. Like we're looking to get into some livable versions and start to, take this to another level, not homes,
Yeah.
but there are people that are using the similar methodology in Europe, and the UK specifically. And I'm seeing it. I'm like, man, we were onto something there. And I think that's that whole digital thinking that we were talking about just before we started recording. There's also a different generation that learns differently and understands and has been brought up through the internet age and understand like our gaming or understands 3D modeling. It's like, that's some of the things that we're thinking about in terms of the future. Like, how do you grow a company 10, 20 years out from now? Like, what does that even look like? It seems like
Yeah.
things are happening and changing so quickly.
It's true.
But yeah, it's all on the collab side, I think, and in innovation and micro niche markets,
Yep.
right?
Yep. I agree 100%. It's exciting city. So I guess if people want to find more about the Bunkie Co, you guys do open houses at your factory like us every once in a while, and you do
Mhm.
like online stuff. Like what's the best thing to do if they want to find out more?
Yeah, well, the greatest place to go is thebunkie.com or bunkie.co. So our
Yep.
website, which has all of our models and pricing, galleries of different projects that we've done. We are located out in Brighton, Ontario, and just off the 509 exit. So that address will be on our website as well.
Yep.
So we will, yeah, we're doing shop tours and we're doing some more things with some new models. So we'll be excited to have a few more physical models there. People are always asking to see those.
Yep.
And we do trade shows as well. But for now, yeah, website and open houses are the way to find out about us. And we have a couple of installations. There's a campground out this way that has bunkies built in them. So people, if they're ever interested in staying in them, we can do that as well. So yeah,
That's
there's a
awesome.
few options.
That's great. Well, I just like I said, I'm thankful that you took the time to chat with me. I love what you're doing, and if there's any way we can support you guys as you build something here in Canada, let us know. We super excited to see you grow and everything.
Yeah, no, you too. I have huge respect and good to work in the same bunkie space as you guys, and we'll keep pushing away and we'll keep in touch absolutely. And good luck with everything. You're
Yeah,
doing it's amazing. The marketing game is massive. It's awesome.
cool. Well, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Eh?
Yeah, my pleasure, David. Take care.